The main impact of all of this is that we're going to see a really thin second wave after the next gen of consoles releases. You're going to see a good number of games coming out around November, December. From January to probably May, there's going to hardly be anything, because anything that was slated for release in that time frame right now would be doing all of their motion capture. Right now, they just can't do that. Our world has changed a lot in the last few months thanks to the C word. Not the bad one, but like the more, I guess they're both bad. I would just say it, the blank 19 thing, but if I do say that out loud, Google's gonna read the transcript of this video and flag it and make it so I can't make ad revenue, and they could potentially flag future videos, so I'm just not gonna say it. I'm gonna keep my lips sealed, but you know what I'm talking about. That thing has permanently changed our world, and over the last few months, it's affected many different industries. And as you would probably expect, most of these industries in question have been negatively impacted as a result of this thing. In fact, I think you would expect most industries in general to have been negatively affected. However, one industry in particular has found themselves doing significantly better than they were doing before, or than they've done in the last decade or so, and that would be the gaming industry. Really, no matter what metrics you use to quantify March and April of this year so far, we've broken all sorts of records as a gaming industry. In March, if you look at Animal Crossing and that launch, they have already achieved their lifetime sales goal. Yeah, the total number of copies they were hoping to sell of Animal Crossing New Horizons, they've already met that after just like a month, a little over a month. That's ridiculous. Or, for instance, if you look at the NDP Group's analysis of the gaming industry that they usually do on a monthly basis, they found that in the month of March, net revenues and gross revenues broke all sorts of records. For instance, gross revenue in the gaming industry in the month of March of 2020 was the highest at $1.6 billion compared to the last 10 years that it's ever been. The last time it was anywhere close to this was in March of 2008, when, roughly adjusted for inflation and all of the other factors you have to consider, it was at about $1.8 billion for the month of March. But, you know, inflation is messy. The point is, they've broken all sorts of sales records, revenue records, goals, everything. The gaming industry is doing pretty okay right now. However, we should be honest, there will be serious negative consequences and impacts to the industry later down the road. This is not something that's just going to go away and we're going to continue on because it's software. What's the matter? Like, how could it possibly affect the gaming industry? Well, it affects a lot of development studios on the back end, especially studios that are working on games that I personally enjoy the most, and those are narrative games. And this is due to a plethora of reasons, specifically how they go about making these games, which is what we're going to talk about. Now, I've actually been looking for interviews, statements, press releases, anything from the head honchos at a lot of these major companies, because I want to find out more of what's going on behind the scenes within these mega corporations as they rev up for major releases this fall, early next spring, and next fall with the release of the next generation of consoles. There's a lot of really cool stuff coming out, which I'll be addressing more in an upcoming video a little bit later this week. Make sure to subscribe. However, after digging for all of these reports and statements, I can't find hardly anything. Whenever one of these industry executives speaks on the current state of the industry, they just say, we're optimistic and we're looking forward to the release of the new consoles. We're very confident in our lineup and our ability to achieve deadlines. It's all corporate jargon. Nobody's talking, frankly, about what's going on behind the scenes. And to be honest, I don't really blame them for doing this. Like, why would you lead with, oh yeah, we're screwed. We're totally screwed. I don't know how we're going to, like, we're probably going bankrupt. Nobody's going to say that. So I understand their hesitance to say anything negative. Again, it's corporate PR speak. And moreover, I think it's just a matter of, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. They're seeing record revenues in every facet of the industry. So why should they come out and say, yeah, we're seeing record profits, but we're going to see major declines in those revenues and profits later this year or early next year as this starts to catch up with us. I understand why they aren't bothering, because again, what do they possibly have to gain from that? In fact, as far as I'm concerned, the only reason an executive would address something negatively in this way would be if they were trying to temper expectations to avoid some sort of blowback in the future, to play the long game as opposed to the short game, which is what a recent interview from Phil Spencer seems to be aimed at. In a recent interview with Business Insider, CEO of Xbox, Phil Spencer, was discussing what we have to look forward to later this year, what we have to look forward to in the months after the launch of the Xbox One X or Series X. The name is so stupid. And more broadly, what we have to look forward to and whether or not we should have some sort of tempered expectation in the months or years to come. And in this interview, Phil Spencer actually opened up and was fairly transparent, saying, quote, "Through the summer, early fall, I feel pretty good about those games. Games that we're targeting a year from now or beyond, there will be some impact, but they'll be able to react. For instance, Mocap is just something that's basically stopped. We're not going into Mocap studios at all. If you're waiting for a lot of either large audio work when it's with symphonies or other things, or Mocap, you're held up right now and you're making progress in areas that you are. In other words, if you're able to send somebody home to design a level, you can do that. You can have Zoom calls. You can make all of that happen. But if you need to be in a studio with 10 actors motion capturing things, then you also need a support crew of 10, 15 people to help those actors get in their outfits and to go and do all of the things that they have to do. That's something that they just can't right now. They can't do it. So any games that we're aiming for a launch of roughly a year from now are in serious trouble, specifically if they were narrative games that use a lot of mocap, depend on a lot of dialogue, longer scenes. It's just something they can't do right now. But don't worry, I'm going to go into a ton more detail. Don't go anywhere. I just want to quickly thank our sponsor for this video, without whom it would not be being made right now, and that is The Ridge. The Ridge makes high-quality, minimalistic wallets. They're light, sleek, and industrial. In fact, it's actually designed to fit easily into your front pocket and slide in and out. The Ridge wallet is available in over 30 different colors and styles, including burnt titanium and carbon fiber, which is my daily driver that I use. And with Father's Day coming up, a little gift like this can go a long way. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. That's my recommendation. Take it or leave it. But for sure, you should take it. Seriously, your dad would probably love this. Give him some love. It can carry up to 12 cards, which is more than I've ever needed to carry, but nonetheless, it can do that. It's RFID protected, and they have over 30,000 5-star reviews on their website. Furthermore, they have a lifetime warranty, and if you go over to ridge.com/Luke right now and you check out using promo code Luke at checkout, you can actually save 10% off of your entire order, whether you're buying one of their minimalistic wallets, one of their backpacks, duffel bags, knives, wireless chargers, anything. 10% off the entire thing. Again, that's ridge.com/Luke, promo code Luke at checkout. So what does all of this actually mean for us getting ready for the next generation of consoles? Well, as far as I can tell, it means the games that are slated probably for early 2021 that were meant to come in the second of 3 waves of exclusives and launch titles, those games are going to be delayed, and that means that the second wave is going to be pretty sparse, pretty much just like the Nintendo Switch. Except, in that case, it wasn't that there was a global pandemic going on. It was just that Nintendo couldn't get anybody to take their new console seriously after the Wii U, so nobody developed games for it. But in this case, there's a lot more going on. The reason that it's probably early 2021 games that are going to be infected most seriously is because usually motion capture and narrative construction happens in the late phases of development. Everything prior to that is about building the foundation upon which the game can be structured. After all, how are you going to film a motion captured scene if you don't know what the layout of the map will be at the time, if you don't know how the scene is going to be structured, what the set is going to look like? It wouldn't make any sense at all. You can do some motion capture, you can do some stuff in fairly generic ways where you just assume you're in a 4 foot by 4 foot box. But if your performance needs to change because you've moved the setting of that scene, that's something you're going to have to reshoot after the fact. If you look at the documentary Grounded about the creation of The Last of Us, you can actually see that they reshot and redid those scenes a bajillion times. Repeatedly, they would have to come back in weeks after they filmed a scene just to reshoot it because they had either changed how something was arranged, they had changed the way that the gameplay was structured, so all of a sudden this character wasn't in the scene anymore even though they were before, so they had to change the blocking. It requires a lot of rewrites, a lot of reworking things, and if you can't actually go into the motion capture studio and shoot a scene, that just doesn't happen. So either the narrative is very thin and doesn't get a lot of attention like they were hoping to give it, or I guess they just delay that portion of development and push the game back a bit. I don't really know what other options there would be. And I actually confirmed this with a source I have within Naughty Dog. I think I can speak fairly vague at this point so as to not get this individual in trouble, but they confirmed to me that they actually were going to go through and do several rounds of reshoots, not to restructure anything narratively, sorry to disappoint you for The Last of Us Part 2, but that they were going to go back through and tweak the blocking and layouts of certain scenes, and they've had to just deal with it. They've had to tweak everything else around the scenes that were already shot because they can't reshoot the scenes in motion capture studios, which I guess makes sense to me. If nothing else, it'll be a great get out of jail free card. If there are narrative problems in The Last of Us Part 2, they can just say, well, we couldn't reshoot it, so that's why. I mean, honestly, it's like, I wish I had a get out of jail free card like that. Like if there was a factual error in this video, which there very well may be, I don't know, I'm trying my best, but if there was something like that, I could just be like, well, I couldn't reshoot it. I only had one shot, so get over it. I did my best. It would be great. Like you get away with so much. For the record, I don't think that's what they're going to do. I think the game actually is going to be pretty good, especially after speaking with some people within Naughty Dog. They've reassured me that there's a lot more to this than what's out there. I don't want to say more than that. Just play the game yourself. If you were already interested in it, give it a shot. That's all I'll say. Careful in the comments because of spoilers. Of course, you know that, but that's all beside the point. The main impact of all of this is that we're going to see a really thin second wave after the next gen of consoles releases. You're going to see a good number of games coming out around November, December in line with the console, so you have something to play when you get the console in your home. But for the most part, from January to probably May, there's going to hardly be anything, because anything that was slated for release in that time frame right now would be doing all of their motion capture touch-ups. They would be adjusting all of that, doing the narrative polishing, adding those cutscenes in. Right now they just can't do that. They can't shoot it, they can't edit it, they can't reshoot, so they're just having to delay that, meaning that we're probably going to end up with a pretty sparse narrative game lineup for 6 months after the new console's launch, which sucks, but I think it's probably for the best because it only means that they're getting 6 extra months to polish the rest of the game, such as gameplay, level design, things like that, which can't hurt, I guess. But this is why I've actually tweaked and adjusted my predictions for the release of certain games leading up to the next gen of consoles. A lot of games that apparently were slated for release in November, December, that are very narrative, that I'm very excited for, have been tentatively delayed, even though they're not completely announced yet, because they aren't able to reshoot scenes. They're not able to shoot scenes that they need. They're trying to do their best. They're trying to get stuff outlined, so the second that they can reopen those studios, they can film it and just be done with it. But as of right now, it's all in limbo. But who knows? Maybe all of this is beside the point, because tomorrow, or maybe when you're seeing this video, all of the restrictions will have been lifted and they're shooting scenes right now, and it was only a month-and-a-half hiccup for most of these companies and games. Hopefully that's the case and everything's fine. We all go back to normal, but I guess we'll just have to see. But let me know all of your thoughts in the comment section below. I will be reading through them as best I can. Make sure to follow me over on Twitter and Instagram. Post there all of the time, plus you get a bunch of cool stuff, sneak peeks, giveaways, all that fun stuff. As always, make sure to subscribe. This is probably not the first video of mine that you're seeing. If it is, welcome. Hi, I'm glad to have you. Subscribe so you see more. Or if you've seen other videos of mine and you're not subscribed yet, just do it. Why not? Doesn't hurt you. Just do it. But that's all from me. Thank you for watching. I love you all. Thank you to Ridge again for sponsoring this video. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.